Hey there, seekers of spiritual, tangible results.
Welcome to the No Nonsense Zone, where common sense meets the spiritual. I'm Jason Parks.
I'm Emma Romano, your unapologetically real spiritual guides.
We don't sugarcoat, we don't dance around the woo-woo, we just deliver the raw, kick-ass truth.
Join us each episode as we dive deep into the mystical, cut through the bullshit, and show you how to manifest the tangible results you've been craving for.
No fluff, no filters, just two mentors on a mission to elevate your mind, body and soul.
Get ready to transform your life like never before. This is Soul Aligned Results, where spirituality meets the real world.
Welcome to Soul Aligned Results. I'm Jason Parks, energetic therapy specialist and mentor in applied spirituality.
Hi, I'm Emma Romano. Firstly, I'm a woman, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I'm also a trauma expert and relationship expert. And we are literally doing these podcasts for people to uplift their lives. So Jason, what are we doing today, my friend?
Well, I want to talk about a couple of things. And some of these are going to be a bit of a challenge in the beginning. So first of all, we need to make a trigger warning because I'm going to be talking about mental health and I'm going to be talking about suicide.
Yeah.
So that's in the beginning, just so that people are aware. Before I get into it, launch in, just want to remind everybody, you know the rules. You know how the podcasting works. If you enjoy this, if you find it of value, what we're saying, you think that somebody might benefit by what we're saying, please share it with others. Like and subscribe, all of those things that go with the territory. And if you want to find out more about what we do, because we offer a whole heap of services, Emma and I are together, as well as our individuals, but you can go to soulalignedresults.com and that'll give you information about what's happening. So I want to talk about legacy because last session, I had a little bit of a rant about what had happened with an Australian business leader, motivational speaker, Kerwin Rae. Now, I'm just going to bring back a little bit about that because one of the things about this, I found it was one of two events that led me into a process in my own spiritual work. And that's really what I wanted to share with people today. So one of the things about this, before I go into this, for me, I go through a process where I work 4-week blocks. So I'll work very intensively for 4 weeks straight, and then I have 6 days off. Now, it's not quite right to say it's 6 days off. It's 6 days of going in. So I go into a very deep space, and in that space, I don't read books. I don't listen to podcasts. I do nothing except pen and paper. And I sit down and I get inside and find out exactly what's most important. And then I create the next 4-week block and we play a game. How much can we progress our life forward in the next 4 weeks before we hit the space point again? So it's in this. One of the things that came out for me this time was about legacy. So the first thing that set that up was reading an article about what had happened after the passing of Kerwin Rae. So Kerwin Rae, for those who don't know, was a leader in business development, motivational speaking, personal development, all that sort of stuff in Australia. He was kind of like Australia's version of Tony Robbins, and he shared the stage with Tony Robbins and things like that. But I used to really love his work, that I wasn't in his programs or anything like that. I need to clarify that. But seeing things on YouTube, on internet, stuff like that. And I remember I'm immensely grateful for his work because it was in one of his clips where he was talking about reparenting. And I looked at it and went, what the hell is that? And that led me down a rabbit hole that has been immensely beneficial for me and so many of my clients to be able to explore that principle. So I'm immensely grateful for his work and what it's meant to me. But this article that was published a couple of weeks ago was talking about what's happened after his passing. Because what happened with Kerwin is that he was everywhere. And then October last year, he was nowhere. He just vanished off the face of the planet. And a couple of weeks later, it was the announcement that he passed away. And then everyone was like, whoa, this guy's like really fit. He's really switched on. Everything's going on. And then, of course, it came out that he'd been struggling with his mental health and he had unfortunately ended his life. So the thing about this that really kicked something off for me. Reading that article kicked something for me. It didn't trigger me. What it did is it brought up that spirit anger, where there's a sense of injustice there against the soul. And the big thing about it was about his legacy. I look at it now, knowing that I've gone into the space last week, and it's like, yeah, it was about legacy. What happens is that with suicide, we're really looking at somebody getting caught in an idea and they can't get out from underneath it. And that idea is that things can't change. And that the only way to escape this idea is to end my life. If I leave the planet, then things will be better. It's not true. I've worked with clients who have been through euthanasia programs and who have passed away through those programs. And I've worked with people, particularly in my other roles, support roles, where pretty much on a daily basis, we were dealing with people who were suicidal and managing those situations. And the thing about that is when people suicide, they are leaving in a state of immense confusion and immense attachment to an idea. My experience of people who have been through euthanasia, that it's the complete opposite. They're leaving because they've done what they needed to do. They're completely in peace with that process. But I had 2 clients in the last couple of years that have been through that, one in Canada and one in Australia. And both of them had dealt with incurable long-term illnesses, and they were very clear about what was coming next for them. And they wrote it out for as long as was possible and feasible. And one person passed away after, and it was interesting because it's how circumstances work, because one person, when they were ready to go, they'd signed their paperwork, and then a whole heap of their friends and family who they hadn't seen for ages just turned up. They all turned up in the next couple of days. They got to see everybody, they got to make their peace with everybody, and they left great peace. And the other person had a big party, almost like a birthday party. And all of their friends and family were invited. They had a wonderful evening, and then most people left, and then they pressed their buttons, went through their process in the arms of their family and nearest and dearest. These are beautiful. This is a victory in life. I remember Bob Proctor. I was studying Bob Proctor's work, and I remember when Bob passed away. And it was interesting because when you got the announcement that Bob passed away, there wasn't a sadness. There was no grief. There was like, wow, that's the full stop on a life lived well. So that's a celebration of victory. That's what that is. But when we come back to poor old Kerwin, so that was not what has been left behind. And one of the big things about that's very sad is because the article wasn't about him, and it's not to have a go at him. None of this is to have a go at him. What happens is, I suppose, because like as a father, you think often a lot about what gets left behind, because really your mum's always your mum. She grew you in her body, right? You will always have that attachment to your mother. But your father, what they give you is the legacy of who they are as a person. And if that legacy is messed with, then there's a deep injustice against a person's life, what they've created in their life. And one of the things that came out of this, in preparation for this episode, I actually went and I read a whole heap of articles about the same subject. And I went to the official website, and what I saw all lined up. And it was very sad, because what happened on one level, what killed this man, who, from my understanding, was a loving partner and father and beloved mentor and coach to people. His friends loved him. So even the people that are now unhappy with the way in which things are turning out from the business perspective still say wonderful things about him. They don't talk about him in the negative. But one of the things that happens where people leave the planet is that they get caught in an idea. And if that idea is perpetrated beyond your death, it's not that that's what killed you. It's that it's continuing to kill you to this day. And there's an immense injustice in that, to not see people for who they are and pretend that they're something else. one of the articles I read today, there was a quote in there. I just want to mention it because this is so, Emma and I have seen this so many times and it's so frustrating. But there's a thing, one of the clients was saying that when Kerr was on stage, he's talking about how big his business is, what they're doing, and he's saying that they're turning over $1 billion a year. But what he meant was he's got 1,000 people in his program and they're all earning $1 million. There's a very big difference. If we said that, then we would say that I'm earning $20 million a year.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
No, it's not true.
No, I've got clients that are earning lots of money and I've got lots of clients.
Well, then that
Right.
means I would be a multi-millionaire because I've trained over 400 practitioners worldwide, and not all of them, but most of them are making buck.
Yeah, but you can't bank that.
No, that's not my money.
No, it's not real. And one of the biggest problems in business is gross versus net. People don't understand that the money that comes in isn't theirs, right? When you're in business, when you're in a job, you have a salary. And that salary, what they give you is yours because they've already taken out your super and they've already taken out your tax and they've already taken out everything else that needs to come out. So when it comes to you, then that's yours. You get the net. But when you're in business, the money goes in the till. And people often make this mistake in small business where they go, I took $1,000 today. It's like, no, you didn't. You probably made $300 today and $700 went into your expenses and your everything else.
That's
So you can't spend $1,000 and
No.
think that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Gross and net is one thing. Gross, net, and fantasy, that's a whole different ballgame. When you are believing that numbers that don't belong to you are somehow yours, and now you're caught under the burden of maintaining that image, that's the kind of thing that will crush you.
And we see this all the time in our industry.
It is terrible. I think we talked about this a few episodes ago.
We
where,
did.
Yeah.
We talked about it because there was a woman claiming that she was making $25,000 a week,
Yeah.
and she couldn't pay me her payment plan of $250 a month.
Yeah.
You know, and she was saying, oh, I've made blah, blah, blah. And I rang her and I said, like, how come you can't pay your bills? Oh, well, that's not money in my bank. I'm giving away free content, but it's worth. I went, well, you can't put on Facebook that you're making this money, babe. It's not true. It's fantasy.
Yeah.
But she was told by her mentor to do it.
The whole thing's out of integrity. And you get,
I was like, you need a different mentor.
yeah. And you get to that where, like, I mean, but you look at that where people are talking about it. They're taking $1 billion. So that's, where does the fantasy end? Where does the fantasy end? The fantasy ends in reality.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the thing. So the all fantasy, when it hits reality, it breaks.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing. Mental health is a huge thing. And in Australia, there's such a stigma around it, and it really shouldn't be, because you have a mind, you have a body. If a person gets physically unwell, we go, oh, they're sick. That's all right. They'll get better. If somebody has a mental illness, we look at it like it's a personal failure.
Yep.
And it's not correct. So we have to manage different aspects of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we get caught under it. And one of the biggest things that we get caught under, and I think this is part of the injustice that I felt around all of this, is that, well, it's what affected me, was that idea of our creations. It's important that the truth of it is that we are bigger than our creations. If we start to,
explain that more. What do you mean by we are bigger than our creation?
Everything you create is bigger than you. Your business, it's an expression of yourself.
Yeah.
So if you create a business, that's not you. That's just something you made. You can make one business, you can make 100 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You have a capacity to grow. So when we first start, we pick something that appears bigger than our present existence.
Yep.
We need something bigger than ourselves to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is that we grow until it's small to us. And then we move on to something bigger than that. That's life. That's perpetual increase.
Yep.
So what happens is, for the vast majority of people, is that they get an idea that they feel is bigger than them, and then they hold themselves in a fixed point where it's always bigger than them. And then next thing you know, that person is a slave to their business. So their business isn't something they create, they change, they can work with.
Yeah.
They now have to make their life fit it. And it's immensely destructive.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that if you get caught in that trap, it can be so crushing that it will destroy everything else about you. You will not be able to see who you are as a person in truth. And you get caught trying to maintain this fantasy. There's a quote that's floating around the internet at the moment that's attributed to Jim Carrey, and I might have mentioned this before, about depression. And it says, when a person says they are depressed, what they're saying is they require deep rest. So they are exhausted from maintaining a version of themselves that they no longer wish to be. And it's a really important point. I've certainly been through it myself. And it's very, very difficult to get caught in it. What's really sad about that is that people buy in, and it's an energy that we hold. So that article was the first thing that set me up for my space week, what I call space week.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand because people keep saying to me, it's like, have a nice week off. And I know I'm not wording it right because people think I'm having a week off. And it's not. It's that we breathe out, we breathe in.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to breathe in with the same intensity that you breathe out. So when I go in there, I go in with the same intensity in 6 days that I do when I breathe out for 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be this immense immersion into yourself.
Yep.
So that was the first thing that set it up, reading that article. I think it's very sad. I mean, because what's happening is instead of a legacy of good memories, of assistance, of success, of overcoming immense adversity. I mean, if we're going to leave anything, if I have anything final to say about Kerwin Rae as a man, is that he was complex. He was very, very complex. He'd been through a lot in his life. He, dyslexic and ADHD, and he'd been through a lot of health problems, had multiple strokes and mental health on and off. Said he'd done so much, and so many people would have just been buried by that. And he created an immense potential legacy that was huge. But if people keep pretending that what is real is not real, then what happened was I went to his website today. And when I went to his website, it said that big bold letters, he'd passed away and basically it's business as usual. And that's not right. You can't have that elephant in the room and leave it there and say, oh, yeah, no, that's not an elephant. It's like we're literally looking at it. So it destroys the legacy. And what will happen is his legacy, instead of being all of those wonderful things that he's did, his legacy will end up being one of abandonment and loss and betrayal. And that's terrible. That's terrible. A man who gave so much to so many. So that was the first
I
thing.
also have to feel that I have to mention he's a son as well.
Oh, yes. I read the article from his mum.
His mother, I don't know his mother, but I've seen her on Facebook, Elizabeth. And I mean, I'm a mum. And my heart just goes to her.
Yeah.
Because that's her boy.
Yeah.
And he's been slammed by some people.
That's terrible. I mean,
it is horrible. And that's her son.
Yeah. That's the thing. I've worked my way through the process now. So I don't have that spirit anger about it now, but I think it's an immense injustice of what people are doing to his memory, because what you're saying is spot on, Emma. So he was a complex guy, but I think if we look at him, he did a lot more good than harm. And
for sure.
If the people,
For sure.
and that's the best we can hope for.
Yeah.
Right? That we do more good than harm. And to have that get whittled away, because what it looks like people are worried about brand. But that brand, you should kill that brand, because that brand is what killed him.
Yes.
And
True.
I had a spiritual mentor who killed himself. He shot himself in the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah. And what's really interesting about, because people, and when that happened, the organization, like I was nobody in that organization.
Yeah.
I was just a person that went along to classes and all those bits and pieces. And I'd been to a number of intensive workshops with this guy and everything else. And I got to tell you, because there was a documentary made, it was about Ken Dyers was his name. And there was a documentary made about him, which really set him up as a cult leader. And I don't know whether that's true. I do know that the people in the organization that I knew were wonderful. They were lovely people. When I'd come out of a thing that was a real cult idea. It hadn't started that way. And I know because I was one of the people that was at the ground level of starting it. And that was in the Shaolin tradition in Australia. Now, it had ended up as a cult because, like all of those things, you get a malignant personality in there, and then they will just warp everything until it becomes what they want it to be.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I'd been in that Buddhist tradition for like 15, 16 years. And my daughter was born with genetic condition, severe genetic condition.
Yep.
And we'd spent 2 weeks in neonatal intensive care. And it was so constant. Like anybody who's ever been through anything like that will know just how intense that is.
3.5 months.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Listen, It's
Yeah.
an alien world, the NICU.
It is.
It's
Yeah,
you can't explain it unless you've experienced it.
that's right.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had two groups of people. I had the Buddhist tradition that I was around, that I'd been part of for all this time. And then I had this other group where I was going to have classes on meditation and communication. And when my daughter was born, this second group, they rang me up. They went out of their way. They rang me up. They sent flowers to the hospital for Karen. They sent flowers home, Karen. They'd said, we've organized teams of people. If you want them, we don't want to intrude. If you want them, we'd love to help you. We'll come, we'll do cleaning. We can cook all your meals. We can do all that sort of thing. We just really want to help you if you want it.
That's beautiful.
The Buddhist tradition I was in, what I got was an email from my master saying, hope it's not too inconvenient, all of this, what's happened with your daughter, and a rumor mill about how my daughter was born with a disability because it was bad karma for me stepping back from my position as a civil monk. So
Wow.
people can talk about what's good people, what's not, what's culture. You have to judge by your own eyes. You have to look at what the tangible results were. So there was a lot of awful things that were said about that second mentor that had the lovely group. There was a lot of awful things that were said about him at some point, and he killed himself because of it.
Mm.
What's really sad about, were they true? I don't know. To this day, I don't know. Because maybe they were, because I only know my experience of it.
Yeah.
Did I see anything that would indicate it's true? No. But I didn't see anything that didn't either.
Yeah.
Because those things were happening away from me if they happened. So you have to take it on what you see. So what happened with that teacher, though, was their legacy. I mean, basically to shoot yourself in the bathroom and leave your body for your wife to find. So that's harm. So we can talk about clarity and why they chose to do that and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you've caused trauma and harm to people that you love. And that should not be your legacy. So with this, it's been a really interesting process because I've gone through that first bit. And then the second bit I had a friend did something. It's subtle, very subtle. They probably even know that they did it. But it's one of those things where I have a rule. If somebody says to me, you did this, I don't go, no, I didn't. Right? What I do is I go, okay, 2 questions. Question number 1, did I? Because it's entirely possible that I thoughtlessly, as a middle-aged white man, I may have thoughtlessly done something, right? That's probably 70% of what I do. So it's possible that I did. So I need to make sure that's correct. And if I'm satisfied that I didn't do that, then the more important question is, what am I currently doing that makes that person think that that's what I did? Because there's clearly I'm doing something it's a correspondence principle. There's something in there that is being brought back. So I look out and I go, okay, this is what it is. And what was really funny was that in that process, a person said, they didn't say you were this or that or anything else. It was so subtle. It was like an energy shift. But when I felt that energy shift, it's like somebody poked a bear. And it's like you poke the bear and they move and they poke the bear. Because what happened to me was my brain went, what is going on here? This is not okay. What makes this person think that that's a suitable response? Even energetically, it's like, no, that's not okay. There's an agreement there. So I looked at it and I went, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I've been living like I'm a domesticated animal, and I'm not. So I went into my space week with those 2 points, and I went to the ocean. So I live about 15 minutes drive from just some of the most amazing beaches in Australia.
Hang on, I
But-
want to go back a bit.
Yep.
What exact 2 points?
So my exact 2 points was, first I read that article about Kerwin Ray
Kerwin
and his legacy.
Yes.
And the
then
second one
point?
was I was the bear that got poked.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it was an energetic truth.
this article was the poking of you.
No, that was one. That
Right.
was one. Yep.
What
And the
else
other one was a
poking
poke.
you?
Well, the other one was a poke. It was just an energetic shift. I was talking
Right.
to somebody and the energy went in a direction that I hadn't expected it to go.
Gotcha.
And it was so subtle that it wouldn't even be remembered.
Okay.
It wasn't like that there was a falling out or anything. It was just like, no, it's like an energetic eye roll.
Okay.
Is
Yep.
what it was.
You went to the beach? With
I went
these
to the
2
beach.
points? Yes.
So if you're in like Queensland or, Bali or New South Wales even, you go to the beach because you have fun. Perth, yeah, you go to the beach because it's fun. Where I live, you don't go to the beach for fun. You go to the beach for perspective.
Why don't you go to the beach for fun in Tassie, Jason? Tell everybody.
Because in 6 minutes you'll be dead.
It's bloody
Right.
freezing. That's why.
It's cold.
Even if it's summer, bloody
Yeah.
freezing.
Yeah. When I went there, I had like 6 layers of clothes on.
Yeah, I
I'm
bet.
standing on
And
the
it's
beach.
winter right now. I'm just letting you know, we're
Yeah,
in the
right.
dead middle of winter here in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And when you look out, and you go, okay, when I look across here, what do I see? Like an open ocean. What do I see?
Mm.
If I could see far enough, what I'd see is Antarctica.
Crazy.
I'm not seeing Fiji.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's cold. So I went down the beach. One word came, legacy, when I was sitting there. And I was there for hours just looking at the water. It was legacy. I had a really interesting experience. And I was looking at the ocean and I was just watching these waves coming, this relentless power of the wave going out, coming back in, out and back in. And I was thinking about how that this water, because water holds memory energetically. So it was like, okay, this water, 87% of my body is made up of water, and that water's on loan. Because when I die, it'll break down, it'll go into the soil, it'll evaporate, and then it'll go back into those oceans eventually. And those oceans hold the memory of the day that my daughters were born. It holds the memory of when I met my wife. It holds the memory of, World War II, World War I, the Ice Age, right? It holds the memory of the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I later on had a look. Those oceans we're looking at are about 4 billion years old. And they have been in constant circulation. And when I was watching that circulation of energy, I looked down and I was like, I could see my footprints on the beach. And I was like, isn't that interesting? Tomorrow, the tide will come in between today and tomorrow and it'll be gone. Like, for all of us, if we're lucky, we get 100 years. 100 years is nothing compared to the 4 billion years that water's been in circulation.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it, I was thinking this will be gone tomorrow. This freak wave came up, 10 feet wide, just this little curved wave came straight out of the ocean and took my footprints in one go.
So they were
And
gone in seconds.
they were gone in seconds, and it left half a footprint. I had a couple of steps in front of me and then one, and it came up and took half that footprint. I took a photo of it because it was like, this is amazing. If you ever want that. And then the interesting thing that happened was that wave went back, and I was like, whoa, that was like smack. That was a big smack. And then I looked up, and this seal jumped up and back in the water and was not seen again. I was still there for like another 40 minutes. And just in that moment, wave, seal, nothing.
So explain to everybody, what was the smack? What did you learn? What did you realize in that?
Yeah, because it's about entering your legacy phase. For me, there's a couple of models. Like everything that we do in life is built on mental models. So we choose to believe in what we choose to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that your mental model is something that's flexible and can grow. Because if it's not, if it becomes rigid, you can get buried underneath it. It has to be in alignment.
Don't be proud of being stubborn, folks. It's one of the most toxic traits anyone can have is stubbornness.
Yeah. You're saying I'm happy to stay in this small picture of myself until I die.
Yeah.
That's like slow suicide.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So with mental models, what happens is you're going to choose very wisely what you want to subscribe to. So in the West, we have a mental model that you kind of hit your peak in your early 20s, about 21, 22. And then after there, you are on the decline. And eventually you get to about your mid-60s, and then you're not fit for work anymore. You go into retirement, and then you're going to live out the remainder of your life in a state of decline until you one day pass away. That's a common model that we use in the West. I prefer the classical Chinese model, which is at around age 55, you hit your peak. And the reason you hit your peak is because you have a combination of physical ability and health, networking, contacts, money, and most importantly, wisdom. And you can put all that together and be the most productive you've ever been your entire life. And that period goes for the next 10 to 12 years, 10 to 15 years. So between 55 and 65, 70. And then at around 70, you come down from your peak, right? From your peak, and you go into your elder phase, which is now you're on the tail end of what you've created at its peak. You're at the maximum value that you can now share with the following generation.
I love that one. I love that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working with.
But my question is this.
Fire away.
When you're on the beach and that freak wave took away half your footprint, what did that mean?
To
so
me,
it's a metaphor for you. What's the metaphor? Yeah. What's the metaphor?
Well,
and I say this, Jason, I'd say that this is the reason why. So when people are listening to us, they're not going to understand what's going on in our thought processes during our processing time.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Can you explain, like when that freak wave came out and took your footprint and you thought it was going to be gone the next day, and then you see this seal and this seal gone, what did all that symbolism mean for you in that moment?
Well, for me, it was the reminder of the impermanence.
Yeah.
But the joy in the impermanence, you see, that water that's on loan to us to maintain our physical bodies comes out of a 4 billion year old storehouse. It's never lost. It's never lost. It just circulates. And if we think that's just the water in our genetic body, so when we talk about the soul, we talk about the spirit, said that is an infinite supply from an infinite time. And we're here for a very short amount of time to create within that form. But what happens is eventually everything that we've created that we think is important will be swept away by the truth. And the truth is we are the ocean. We are not the bag of bones holding up 87% water. So it's everything that we have is on loan to us. So our creations do not define us.
Thoughts.
Yeah. It does not define us. Our identity, all of it. So
unless we're in agreement with it.
Yeah, well, that's right. We get
and that's important to know. Like if This is why people stay sick.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
stay chronic because they're in agreement with that sickness. And I know it sounds weird, like people go, but I don't want to be sick. Then stop talking about it and stop acting like you're sick. Stop eating like you're sick.
Yeah.
Stop thinking like you're sick. Stop talking about being sick. Put more effort into eating well, feeling well, thinking well, speaking well that you do in the other, and you will be better.
Mhm. It's very interesting because the thing about our creations, this is us being big on our creations. We have to, at any point in time, be prepared to completely strip down and rebuild who we are, what we create. Otherwise, we're stuck at the level of our past success. And past success is a waste of time. You know, I've done martial arts for over 40 years. And there's one thing I like about martial arts in particular, and that is a thing we call the purity of the punch. And you can talk technique and you can talk about all of these things. And, you know, and martial arts is a horrendous trap because it's full of people. I did it myself, and I'll tell you the story in a sec. But you can get caught in the idea of how good you were at one point and forget that you're not that today. But the purity of the punch, it reminds you, because you can think that you're pretty hot and a person will punch you right in the face and it hits you in the face anyway. You might have been a world champion 20 years ago and that teenager just punched you in the face. Why? Because you weren't paying attention. So you can't live on your past glories. They're not real. So that's the thing you do today. I remember I trained with a fellow who had just come back from 10 years of living in Japan and training 3-4 times a week with some of the the highest ranked masters in his art form. And I remember we were doing some work with the staff, and he got me to hit him with the staff. And I did this movement, and he blocked it, and he had this look on his face of utter confusion. He said, no, hit me, do it again. And I went, where? And he did it again. And he said, I thought you said you were Shaolin. And when he said it, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is that? And I was really angry. And I didn't get angry with him.
Have to explain what that means.
I'm going to explain what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
So what do you mean that he thought you were Shaolin? What does that mean?
Shaolin Temple is famous for its fighting with poles.
Oh, okay.
Right? Very famous. And when you practice properly, you get really good. So you can get enough power in your movement. I used to get enough power in a movement where I could swing a staff and snap it off past my hand just by the whip.
Yeah. So did he think you were going to be better or worse than when
better?
Right.
He thought I was going to be better. And I looked at him, I thought, what the hell's going on here? And I went home and I thought about it because I really respected this guy's opinion.
Yeah.
And I still do. And I went home and I thought, wow, that guy did me a massive service because I got caught in the trap. Part of my brain was still thinking I was as good as I once was and not thinking that I'd had 20 odd years of chronic illness, which had taken away the vast majority of my physical skills. And it was like, oh, I got caught. So I've worked very deliberately since then. That was like 12 years ago. And I've been still working on it because it's just like, yeah, you can't get caught. So I do some practice with Japanese sword, and I use a sharp sword, which is not what I recommend for people.
Don't do that, kids.
No, because when you make a mistake,
it hurts. You chop something off.
You cut your thumb off. Yeah. So it's in that, for me, at the level which I practice, I said, that's an important tool. Said I ordered a blunt one. They sent me a sharp one. And when I got it, I was like, will I send it back? It was like, no, this is universal. Stop pretending you're a beginner. Yeah. Right. So I've practiced with that for 7 years now, and I haven't cut myself yet. And that's because it puts you back in the moment. You got to play high stakes in what you create. And
can I give it a top tip? People ask me all this time, you know how we're talking about being in agreement with something that's not good for you, or being stubborn about a mindset that can create you to want to maybe not be in this life or whatever it is. How do you know you're in agreement with something negative? When somebody challenges you on it, or you'll see a post, you're going to bat for your identity around it. I'll give you an example. I was watching this Mel Robbins post. She did a podcast with Oprah. I didn't watch the podcast or listen to it, but it was just a snippet. And there's something like 544 comments underneath. And you've got some people going, this is great. This is fantastic. And then you've got people saying, she just doesn't understand about anxiety. That person there, that person goes, no, you don't understand what I'm going through. That is the person that is attached to the identity of being mentally ill.
Yeah.
You're going to bat for it. I did it when I was diagnosed with MS in 2014. I would literally introduce myself as that. Like, it was insane. I go to a pay, go, hi, I'm Emma. I know I've got to leave. It's because I've got MS. And I might have to leave early because I've also got chronic fatigue. What was your name? Like, literally, that is how I used to introduce myself.
Yeah.
Crazy. You're going to bat for your negative. And when someone's sitting in flow, ease, and grace, you don't go back for anything.
That's right.
You don't have to announce who you are, or you don't have to fight for your spot or anything. You'll just sit there in your own ease. Very interesting. It's one of the very clear signs. So if you're ever, like, for our listeners, if you're ever looking at something on Facebook or Insta or the news, whatever, and you get to go, oh, they don't understand me. Just go, oh, I'm really signing up for this diagnosis, aren't I? So what diagnosis are you signing up for? What are you even trying to convince someone on Facebook that you don't even know that you've got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's-
interesting.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's our legacy is our little footprint in the world.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
what do you want to
important-
leave behind? I was so stoic in my anxiety or stoic in my depression. Do you want that? Do you want to leave that behind?
Yeah, exactly right. So the thing about legacy that's most important is that it's about who we become on a daily basis. It is not about who we were
Yeah.
or what we wanted to be.
Exactly.
So it's so important. If I can leave everyone with something, it would have to be in your life today, there's things that you're holding. Because if you get caught in that past thing, like that martial arts teacher with me, so the big takeaway I got from that is that I had become a parody of myself. I was walking around pretending to be me instead of being me. And it was interesting because that was what the bear poke was for me as well. I said, why am I so upset about what's happened to Kerwin Ray's legacy? Because of my legacy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are you doing about it? So what I'm doing about it is that I've stripped it all down and I'm rebuilding it into what it's becoming from this day forward. We have to do that periodically. We have to do that. So otherwise you get caught in this pattern. I'll give you an idea. If you want to ruin your relationship, ruin your marriage, you can create an identity about something past. So say yesterday your wife was cranky with you. And you can say, all right, yesterday my wife was cranky with me, but I wonder what she's going to be like today. That's a different experience to saying, my wife's a bitch.
Yep.
You know? And we do it all the time. We do it all the time. We say, I can't lift my business to this next level. I can't lift my health. I can't lift my perspective, which is your mental health. I can't lift my perspective to a certain thing because I'm a this. You know, and you see people doing it all the time. You see bumper stickers on cars, like the bitch is back and things like that. And you look at it and you just go, well, is that really how you want the world to see you? Because you are informing everyone of how they need to deal with you. So you've got to let that ocean, because when it comes to water, that's a 4 billion year old supply. But when you're talking about spirit and soul, we have a different experience. We're not standing on the beach looking at it. We're a fish in the ocean. We live in it. We live in an ocean of grace.
Yeah.
And the only reason we don't experience more of it is because we refuse to.
Yeah.
Your legacy has to be more and more gracious. So I hope that's helpful to everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. That was massive. It helped me so much. It always does. It always does. I love doing this podcast so much. Guys, we would love to hear from you. Always email us. Check out our website, solidlineresults.com, and tell us what you're needing from us as well. We would love for you to say, hey, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? We have got a request, actually, Jason, that we should probably visit about bullying.
Oh, that'll be really interesting.
That will be an interesting one. So we'll pop that out next time, I think. That would be a good one. We did get a request. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Have the most spectacular and amazing day. On our soulbusinessalignment.com website, there are masterclasses you can sign up to. There's so many things that we have got on there for you so that you can work deeper with us, within yourselves, and have the most incredible day. We'll see you later.
Thank you.